Hi, Language Arts Lady here. Welcome to episode number 7 of 10-Minute Grammar. I'm starting this series out, this 10-Minute Grammar podcast out with the 10 parts of speech and the order to teach them in. And so we are on episode 7. Episode 1 was an introduction. And then number 1 part of speech was articles slash noun markers. Number 2, nouns. Number 3, adjectives. Number 4, verbs. Number 5, adverbs. And now we are on the 6th part of speech in the order series, and that is pronouns. So be sure you hop on over to IG to watch the previous different parts of speech that I've introduced, or you can also watch them on YouTube, and you can also listen to them at iTunes, or be subscribed to my blog, and you will get them every week in your inbox. All right, so number 6 in our order is pronouns. And remember that we are working towards sentence building. So grammar is for writing and speaking, right? So we want grammar to be linked to writing and speaking. We want it to actually lead to writing, in our case here. And so with that, we have a sentence that we've been building. So we're going to be doing sentence building throughout the introduction of the parts of speech. And so we started out with the, which was, of course, a noun marker slash article. Marks a noun, tells you that a noun is coming. There are only 3 of them. And a, the, 3 little words tell you that a noun is about to be heard. Then we went to nouns, person, place, thing, or idea. So then we had the cat. All right. Then, because we want to teach things close to each other, so noun markers slash articles, introduce nouns, so those were together. Because we want the things together that modify each other, describe each other, go together, or built upon each other, or based upon each other, next after nouns, we did adjectives. So in our sentence building, we had the sneaky cat, all right? And sneaky was our adjective. That was part of speech number 3. Then we did verbs. Right? And now we're ready. We are ready to build sentences. The sneaky cat climbs. The sneaky cat climbs. And all sentence building can begin because a noun can be used as your subject, and then you have a noun marker, an article if you want it. You have an adjective if you want it, and you have a verb which you need, right? Because every sentence has to have 5 parts. Check out my caves posters at my Teachers Pay Teachers store. Capital, all makes sense. Verb, in mark, subject. All right, so we have our subject and our verb because we can use nouns for subjects. All right, and then last week we added adverbs. Again, keeping in with the idea that we are going to teach the part of speech that has something to do with the previous one. So adverbs, you'll have to watch that episode because I gave a lot of info, but adverbs often modify slash describe verbs. They even have the word verb in the word adverb, right? It's even right there in it. And that is another great teaching tip for adverbs. All right, so then we had the sneaky cat easily climbs. All right, now today we're going to move to pronouns. They can be added now because we've already had nouns, right? And the way I introduce pronouns to my students is that I have them highlight pro with one color, draw an arrow to the margin, and write for. If you are pro something, you are for that thing. And then they highlight noun, pronoun, in another color, draw an arrow to the margin, and write person, place, thing, or idea. So a pronoun is for a person. It's for a place. It's for a thing. It's for an idea. It takes the place of one of those things. It is for it. It is in place of. So, we can say that pronouns are for nouns. They are going to be able to replace them. Now, one of the best ways that I have found to introduce the need for pronouns is to get a really, really wacky paragraph and pass it out to students with only nouns in it. Let me see if I can make one up on the cuff here because I had some good examples that I used in my How I Teach video episodes also. But let's just go with the boy rode the boy's bike downtown. the boy likes the boy's bike, and the boy was very glad that the boy got the bike for the boy's birthday present. All right, I'll do something really outlandish like that. And the kids are like, boy, 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 boy. And I'm like, you think? Right? I always love to do something unexpected that causes students light bulbs to go off, right? And you can just see it. Or else something that's so outlandish that they're like, who would ever do that? And I'm like, who would ever do that is the person who doesn't know how to use pronouns properly, right? And then I do another thing on the flip side, and I give a paragraph without any nouns at all. So in that case, in the case of the boy and his bike, I might have a paragraph that says something like, he rode his bike downtown. He liked to ride his bike. He was glad that he got his bike for his birthday. And they're just like, if it's not exactly right after the previous one, they'll be like, or I'll be like, who is he? Who is his? Who is him? Right? And so those two extremes show students the need for pronouns, right? When you only have nouns, it's redundant and the reading is very laborious, and you need pronouns to take the place of some of those nouns. When you only have pronouns, you don't have any idea who he even is, right? So that is a good exercise to introduce pronouns and to help students see why it's so important to use pronouns and to use them well. All right, I also like to teach kids the different types of pronouns as we use them. We have a tendency to want to jump right in, like in the adverb episode last week. We have a tendency to say, okay, well, let's do it. Let's do, that adverbs teach how, when, where, and to what extent. Let's make sure that they know that they describe adjectives, verbs, and other adverbs. Let's be sure they know that sometimes they're ly words, but they're not always. And let's just do it all. And that is TMI, right? That's too much information for young students. And so we want to do it incrementally. So rather than just throw at them, I might give them a list and show them there are lots of different types of pronouns, right? There are personal, there are possessive, there are reflexive, there are indefinite, there are interrogative. But I'm not going to necessarily expect them to use all of them properly and to write with them and to know which ones are which right away. So go slowly on that account. Now, also be aware as a teacher or a parent helping students with homework that not every pronoun that's listed in the Googles is really always a pronoun in your student's textbook. So some parts of speech, like who, for example, it might be listed in your textbook as a interrogative pronoun, as one of the question ones, like who, what, when, where, that kind of thing, right? But in your textbook, but in the Googles, let me do it the other way around, it might be listed in your textbook as an interrogative pronoun, but then when you look it up on the Googles, it might say that it is a subordinator. I teach it more as a subordinator more often than I even do a pronoun because it has a noun and a verb if it's used as a subordinator. Who, anyway, that's another video for another time, or another audio for another time. But just beware that not everything is going to teach it exactly like you do. And that's the one thing about grammar. We can't always count on it being perfectly in sync, right? So one handbook does it one way, the AP does one way, MLA does it another way, right? Cambridge Dictionary does it another way. So we just need to be aware that they won't always be listed. Like the word both is another example. It is considered to be an indefinite pronoun. In meaning not, indefinite meaning for sure, not for sure. That's a perfect name for indefinite pronouns. I just got that. Okay, I do have my kids dissect it like that, and then I usually do an outburst like that when I realize something that I didn't know before, and they're just like, she's doing another grammar funny. Yeah, so indefinite pronouns, but other programs will call both an adjective, right? Or also an adjective or something like that. And so just beware that not all pronouns are listed as a pronoun in all programs, all schools of thought, all handbooks, all manuals. right? All the grammarians out there. All right. And lastly, personal pronouns never have apostrophes, right? And this is why we have that whole problem with people putting THEIR apostrophe S, because there is a personal pronoun. It takes the place of a noun. So it might take the place of Bob and Sue, and instead we say they, and then we say they are going to their party, right? So we have those pronouns in there taking the place of Bob and Sue, assuming we've already mentioned them. But we don't say theirs. It is their, we don't say it is their party. We don't say it is theirs, THEIR apostrophe S, right? So pronouns do not usually have apostrophes, and especially personal pronouns, possessive pronouns. They will not have apostrophes to show possession. And that is where we get in trouble with the IT apostrophe S, the WHO apostrophe S, and so forth. So my rule of thumb for that is to always have students say contractions uncontracted. So when you see WHO apostrophe S, I always tell my kids, what are you thinking in your mind? Who is? IT apostrophe S, what are you thinking in your mind? It is. THEY apostrophe RE, what are you thinking in your mind? They are, right? Say it uncontracted in your head, and you'll never use the wrong homophone in those cases, right? The pronoun for something else. Anyway, I have a lot more to say about pronouns that I will do in upcoming 10-minute grammars. So I hope you will join me. Next week, we are going to move into prepositions, one of my favorite parts of speech, because I have a lot of ways to teach them. But please join me again. And also subscribe so that you get these updates in your inbox. Thanks a lot for joining me for today's 10-minute grammar.